Hey everyone, how's it going today, and welcome back to another second stimulus check and second stimulus package unemployment benefits extension update. And welcome back, or welcome here if you are brand new here. But in today's update, I basically want to take a revisit once again to the Fed Ed / the EB program, which if you guys are brand new here, definitely check out the previous video which I made, which I basically explained all about the different programs, all about the Fed Ed program and all of the details, like what it is, how does it work, how to physically get on it. It's called How to Get 20 Weeks of Unemployment, but basically in today's update you can even consider this as kind of like a part 2 to the Fed Ed series. But in today's update I basically want to talk and dive a lot deeper, talking a lot more about the qualification side, about how to know if you even physically qualify for the Fed Ed / the EB program, which is basically the extension of unemployment for 20 weeks. Particularly because, as I kind of mentioned in the last video, is that there's an actual physical math that goes on to it, and because I know sometimes math can be a little bit confusing for some people, I didn't want to overcomplicate a lot of that stuff, so I figured I'd make a future video talking a lot more about the qualification side, how to know if you're qualified, and that is today's video. So we're gonna get right to it, but before we begin, make sure you smash the like button if you can, because it always does help to support this channel, and it's very easy to do. Consider subscribing and hit the bell notification button for future updates on stimulus checks, unemployment, or general finance topics, and feel free to comment any questions or thoughts at any time, or even if it's just something about how your state is currently doing with the unemployment situation. Like, I know in New York it's been very up and down, and we're slowly recovering but still figuring things out. Oh, and if by any chance, if you guys have any questions about all of the different unemployment programs, what's currently available to me, what each of them, all of these crazy terms mean, because as we've kind of mentioned is that there's so many different programs like the PUA, PUC, FPUC, LWA, FEMA, and then in today's video and yesterday's video, the Fed Ed / the EB. Definitely check out one of the previous videos I made, because I think it's going to bring a lot of clarification to everything, where I kind of explain all of the terms, all of the different programs that's available. I think the name of the video is How to Get 59 Weeks, because that's the maximum number of weeks if you are able to qualify for all of the different programs combined. So with that being said, let's get this video started. So now the first thing to make sure that you're able to qualify for it, I think before all else, is to actually make sure that you're even collecting the traditional unemployment, not the PUA. And I know I've mentioned this before, but I think it's really important to make clear, only because I know that there's been a little bit of a confusion about that, but it's really that you have to make sure that you're on the traditional unemployment and not the PUA. Now with that being said, I still do think that this is relatively insightful to know, even if you actually are on the PUA, only because of the fact that the PUA is about to expire at the end of this year, actually, which is literally the end of next month. As crazy it is to think, there is a chance that even if you're not on the traditional unemployment now, with the fact that there's not really any certainty whatsoever about what's going to happen with the PUA, there is a chance that some people might actually end up on the traditional unemployment afterwards. So if that does end up happening, then this extension would be able to kick in. The second thing also is to actually make sure that your state is even actually doing the Fed Ed / the EB program, which is what I talked about in my previous video, so definitely check that out, the one that I mentioned called How to Get 20 Weeks, because only some states are currently, thankfully most states are doing it, so that is the really positive news on there. Once you have all of that, then you basically just have to meet the other requirements, which I'll actually just throw up this right here, which basically just states that you have to run through all of the different requirements. One of them is also the fact that you actually also have to run through the regular traditional unemployment first, and then also the PEUC, which is the 13-week extension, which in total should be 26 weeks for the regular, 13 weeks, so 39 weeks in total, before you can actually even physically get on to the Fed Ed and the EB program. Now, there's an actual physical math that goes by it, and that's what we're going to go into next. So this is basically the formula that we have to use to calculate whether or not we actually are qualified for the Fed Ed / the EB program. Basically the formula, and I know it's a little bit confusing, so I'll explain it here, and I'll also use an example to hopefully bring a little bit of clarity into it. But basically the first case is that your total yearly income / earnings during your base period, so all 4 base periods combined, has to be greater than 40 times your weekly benefit amount. Basically 40 times the amount of money that you are currently collecting on unemployment. The second qualification to potentially get on it is that your total yearly income slash earnings during all of your 4 base periods combined together has to be greater than 1.4 times the earnings of the highest quarter of earnings of your base period. Now, only one of these has to apply, so that is the really, really great news. As long as one of these applies, you should be set. So we're going to do an example to hopefully make it a little bit easier to understand. So I really just made up this example as an example to use, but in the first example, using the first formula, say for example, if the total income during your base period, so all of your 4 base periods combined together, is $12,000, and currently you're collecting $400 on your weekly benefits every single week on your unemployment. 40 times 400 is 16,000. Your total income during your base period is $12,000. So is $12,000 greater than $16,000? It's not. $16,000 is greater than $12,000. So in this situation, you would not qualify under the first formula slash requirement. Now, using the second formula, if let's say your total income base period for all of the quarters combined is still $12,000, but let's say in each of the 4 quarters of that year, let's say in the first quarter you made $12,000, in the second quarter you made $29,000, in the third quarter you made $3,400, and say maybe in the fourth quarter, which is the Christmas holiday season where everyone goes shopping, you just had a stellar month where you just made lots of money and you made $4,500, which altogether once again should add up to your $12,000. But of all of those 4 quarters, if the highest amount that you earned during those 4 quarters is $4,500, now the question becomes 1.5 times $4,500 is equal to $6,750. Is $12,000 greater than $6,750? Which one is greater? $12,000. So the great news is that in this situation, your total base period is greater than the 1.5 times the highest quarter amount of earnings, so you would qualify. As long as one of these is true, then you should be qualified and set. So congratulations if that's the case. I think that the reasoning why they have this formula is really because they just don't want you to be collecting more money on unemployment than what you were basically making beforehand. That's kind of why they just wanted to make sure that the amount of money that you were making before all of this stuff happened is higher than what you're currently collecting on unemployment. Now, in terms of what you have to actually physically do to get onto the FedEd / the EB program, every single state is a little bit different, but I'll throw this up from California, which is actually very, very similar. So most states are still relatively similar, more or less, but basically most states, it actually should be automatic. Now, sometimes there might be a case where you maybe have to do a particular something. If that does become the case, the likelihood is they're going to either send you a physical letter inside of the mail or an email of some kind letting you know what exactly to do. And then in many cases, they'll just get you on, you'll either just do that or you're basically going to be automatically applied for it. Now, if let's say something does happen and you end up not being approved for it, then really there's a couple options that you can take. The first option is most likely is that inside of the letter, it's probably going to explain why you are not approved or qualified for it. You can either try to appeal the case by sending something back to them and just hoping for the best that something pulls through, or you can try to reapply for the traditional unemployment, or you can even consider just going for the PUA. Just note that the PUA ends at the very, very end of December, so that's something that's really, really important to know, and that's really basically 3 options. So hopefully as long as one of them pulls through, it becomes golden. So hopefully this brings a little bit of clarity, because I know sometimes with the math it can be a little bit confusing, and that's kind of why I didn't want to squeeze this into my last video. I kind of wanted to just make a separate video about it, even though funny enough math was actually my best subject in school, and the fact that I was a former engineer, just a very, very funny thing that's been going on. But basically hopefully that brings a little bit of clarity to everything, because I know sometimes the math can be really confusing. I haven't even had to type out formulas ever since I graduated school like years ago, so that's really the crazy thing. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts about anything at all, whether it's about stimulus, unemployment, or whether or not you guys are understanding it, because I know it can be very complicated, or even if it's just about like how your state is currently doing with all of the unemployment situation, or really just anything at all. But thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to check out the other videos if you guys need any more like insight or explanation about the different programs, especially the one previously, which is like the part 1 to this video, which is the part 2 about the FedEd / the EB program, to hopefully get more up to date about what's exactly going on. Remember to smash the like button if you can, subscribe, hit the bell notification button, and thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.